bit of a different one for you today. I am bringing you another Impact interview. It's just a quick one. It's a good 14 to 15 minutes long. I am talking to one of Impact Wrestling's latest acquisitions, Joe Hendry. Now, as a little Englander, as someone who lives on the border of England and Scotland, and Joe Hendry is from Edinburgh, I am well aware of who this wrestler is. I am well aware how awesome this wrestler is, and I am well aware how cool it is for Joe Hendry to be in Impact Wrestling. I've said it a few times on some of the Nerdly Talks or the Talking Nerdlies with Phil. You've heard me talk about these shows. Impact is one of, if not my favourite wrestling shows. It streams on a Thursday night on the YouTube, and then I'll usually watch it on the Friday morning. But of course, that's because on YouTube you have got Impact Insider. It's a very, very small fee of about £1.80 in the UK, Impact content, and it's where they put all their weekly shows. And I'm always there for it because it has the best wrestling. The best wrestling out there. So when the chance to speak to Joe Hendry came up, I was absolutely all about that, because when he debuted at Bound for Glory a little while ago in the Call Your Shot match, I was buzzing. Came out with the new theme tune. Everyone believes. We love a bit of Joe Hendry, and it was just such a great intro. Now he's the digital media champion, taking on all comers. It was just exciting to get a chance to sit down and talk to him, because yes, we talk about wrestling in a critical way. We talk about wrestling in a reviewing capacity, but sometimes it's just great to talk to these guys who you've been watching for a while. I mean, 6 years ago, I was up in Glasgow at the Hydro Arena for Fear and Loathing 9 with a couple of really good friends of mine. We went up there and I didn't know what to expect from ICW. I really didn't. I saw the Dudley Boys intro that night. I saw Kurt Angle's intro that night. And I saw Finn Balor coming out that night. All three amazing, classic, amazing intros. All of them absolutely crapped on by Johenium Rhapsody. If you don't know what that is, check it out on YouTube. Just Google it. It's the best thing you'll ever watch. Joe Hendry is a fantastic, fantastic wrestler, and Impact have got themselves an absolute superstar. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to get into this little interview. But just to let you know, there are a couple of cool things coming up. In December for Impact Wrestling, we've got the Winter Warfare. That's going to be an absolute banger. If you're in America, because obviously, like, I live in Britain, so there's not much chance I'm going to be going. Get yourself onto Ticketmaster and check that out. Then we've got Hard to Kill in January, which is always one of the best pay-per-views of the year, because it's just, let's get rid of all that Christmas flubber. You know what I mean? I'm joking. It's nothing about that. It's getting back into the swing of things. Hard to Kill is awesome. Yeah, please do check out those things. Get yourselves Impact Insider, because to be honest, for the price you pay, you get a hell of a lot into the interview with Joe Hendry. And I just want everyone out there to know that I do believe in Joe Hendry.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. Cause they love him in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland and Canada and Mexico. They say, I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
This takes me back a little bit, because back in 2016, 6 years ago, I was at the Hydro for Fear and Loathing 9, and I got to see you versus Davey Blaze doing the Johenium Rhapsody, which was absolutely awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And here we are.
Here we are. I mean, it's 6 years later. You pop up
6
on
years,
Impact.
damn. Yeah, there we go.
And they Call Your Shot gauntlet match. You end up in there, and to a hell of a pop. I mean, it's safe to say you're over like Rover before you even started.
Well, you've said it, not me. You know what I mean? You could say it.
So I'm a big fan of Impact, and for me, each week this is like my number one pick of shows to watch each week. I watch Raw with my daughter, but for me, it's Impact. I want to know a little bit about how Joe ended up in Impact, and what was the choice to come over here.
So, long story short, there's a few reasons that I went to Impact. One is I believe that Impact has the best wrestling show on TV. So I share your opinion there.
Yeah.
I want to be 100% bought in, and I am on Impact's product, and I feel that I can contribute something unique to it. Also, Scott did an interview in the UK several years ago where they asked who he thought could be a future world champion, and this is before Josh Alexander or Moose had done it. And he said the three people I'll say, he said Josh Alexander, Moose, and then he said, do you know what, wild card, Joe Hendry. And when I read that, that made me realize that actually Scott gets what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's how management perceives me, then that's probably the place that I should go to. And because that's where I'm going to get an opportunity to do what I do. And that's all I'm bothered about, is just basically entertaining the fans as best as I can. And I've got like this amazing creative team to work with who are all about just enhancing what I bring to the table. And it's an awesome working environment. So, and again, it's just, I come back from a match and Tommy Dreamer's giving me some advice, and then I'm going down the stairs, and then me and Chris Sabin are talking about how to structure matches and moves, and then I'll go a little bit down the hall, and then Eric Young's giving me some advice, and you're just like, I'm very spoiled as someone who is learning this craft.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was a question I had for a little bit later, but we might as well just talk about that one now. Is
Sure.
You've kind of been touring a lot of the indies and everything like that, and let's be honest, I know you're a pretty humble guy, but you've always kind of been the top main guy at those different promotions and the draw, if you will. And here you are at Impact. You've got all these legends around you and all these people that you can just soak up like a sponge. What is that like now? Not necessarily being the guy leading the charge, but just the learning process and helping bring this company on.
Well, I'm very passionate about wrestling right now. And I think when you've been a professional wrestler for a long period of time, it's like there are tough times where you have this love-hate relationship with the business. But I just absolutely love pro wrestling right now. And I believe that I have what it takes to be one day the best in the world at this game. That's what I believe. And that's going to take me a lot of time to get there. I think that I have the ability to do that one day within me. But I have to be willing to put in the graft. I have to be willing to seek the right advice, the right mentorship. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I take it as my, like, Impact has shown belief and faith in me. They've held up their end of the bargain. So now it's up to me to hold up my end of the bargain and deliver for this company.
I like that.
Myself, much like everyone else on the roster, the goal is to not just like elevate myself, but I want to help and be a part of elevating the company as well. I believe we've got the best wrestling show, and I want to compete with anybody and everybody.
I mean, I have to echo your sentiments there, and I think as well, taking the shot on you, it's a little bit of a no-brainer for Impact Wrestling to bring Joe Hendry on board, because one of the things, being one of these companies that isn't necessarily, top two or whatever like that, you've got the other companies out there, but they rely a lot on sort of the social media aspect and the Impact Insider and all their YouTube kind of work. And you are perfect for that, because, I mean, anybody who knows you, and I've seen a lot of your videos and intros, you've got a bit of a knack for going viral.
Yeah, I mean, that is something I've done a number of times. I mean, when you say, again, I genuinely believe that if you create the best possible product that you can, that all the other things will follow. And I think that's what we're doing here at Impact Wrestling. We're just, the attitude that I have is the attitude that's shared amongst the locker room, but also like across the company as well. Everybody, we're just trying to produce the absolute best show that we can, give the best experience for the fans. And I think if we continue with that, we're going to see steady growth. I'm feeling very positive about the future on many levels. I'm so delighted I'm just excited to see how far we can take this.
I think as well, what it's shown for me, I know you've only been there a little while now, but you've pushed, and I don't want to sound facetious or anything like that, but you've really pushed your wrestling ability to be a lot stronger than it used to be, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Because when you do come to Impact, you've got your Josh Alexanders, you've got your Mike Baileys, your Trey Miguel's, and all that. The wrestling there right now is bar none. It's the best out there. So how hard have you really been working to get yourself to that point where it's like, I'm going to hang with these guys?
So it really came back to I believe I've always had excellent fundamentals. Like when it comes to like technical wrestling, like I can go in and call absolutely nothing and have a good match. And there's not a huge amount of people that can do that. So I know I've got excellent fundamentals, but I think I was confused as a wrestling act for a long time. So I remember Jonathan Gresham pulled me aside and he says, look, why are you being the technical guy when there's guys like myself, there's guys like Zack Sabre Jr.? He's like, whereas you can lift two guys at the same time. He's like, be the power guy. And I was like, he's so right. So what I did is I just and he says the way to think about it is he was like, your main attribute is power, and then when you have like a, whether it's a pay-per-view match or whatever, or a longer match, that's when you go back to the technical stuff and you show that you can do that as well. So that's how I've changed my act. And I genuinely I went back and watched some older wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really inspired by, so my in-ring act is inspired by Psycho Sid, Scott Steiner, and Goldberg, because I feel like there's not enough of that in wrestling nowadays. So I literally, my moves, I have the same move set as Psycho Sid. You know what I mean? Like when you really think about it. But I actually met Goldberg and he gave me some amazing advice. He basically said, do that, but change little things about it. So I do a choke slam, but I kind of hold them and elevate them for a little bit beforehand. I do a gorilla press, but instead of, I do explosively instead of holding them up. So I just throw them as opposed to lifting them up. And with the, I do the pop-up powerbomb, but I drop to my knees. So that was a really good bit of advice from Goldberg, which is if you're going to do, moves that have been done before, just do one thing a little bit differently. So I've kind of taken those philosophies. So advice from Gresham, advice from Goldberg, and just try to do something a bit different there. And I think that's what makes for interesting matchups. And the thing is, I am a legitimate amateur wrestler. Like I'm a 2-time national champion. I represented Scotland at the Commonwealth Games.
Nice.
And, so I believe I come in with those credentials, and I think that leads for exciting matchups. You mentioned Josh Alexander earlier, that's exciting because, we all know that when it comes down to it, I'm going to be able to go toe to toe with him when it comes to the amateur wrestling stuff as well. And that's exciting because how does that confrontation go down if it happens down the line?
Oh, and I'm sure it will. But going from a future title shot, you currently hold the title. You came into the company and you're now the digital media champion, taking down Brian Myers. And thank you so much for that, because he's an insufferable jerk. So I'm sure he's a nice guy.
He is, but he's fantastic though.
Yeah,
he's annoyingly good at this wrestling thing.
Yeah, but so how was that for you coming in and so quickly picking up not just a shot at a title, but picking it up?
It was wild. It was absolutely wild. It was completely unexpected, and it was wonderful. It was, to me, this is someone I remember being 15 years old on holiday and just in the pool by myself and just looking at the edge of the pool and going like, oh man, what top rope move would I do? Or if I was to win, a title in TNA. And it was like, that's what I used to think about, when I was 15 or I might have been 16 or whatever it was. I can't, it was like 2003. And I had a video of Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle on my video iPod. That's I think my favorite moment in wrestling might be when Kurt Angle confronts Samoa Joe over the championship. That might be one of, if not my favorite moments. But to have that on my video iPod, and now if you go on Impact Wrestling's roster page, you click on there, I'm there in the list of champions. It's wild. It is absolutely wild.
And with that it comes a certain level of responsibility. You're going around and you're touting the belt. I believe you were just in Poland against old ICW pal Trent Seven. And how's that getting the word out further afield and just letting people know that this Impact thing is here and it's here to stay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very exciting to be awarded a championship and then to immediately be able to defend it in a title and I believe a continent where it's never been defended before. So I look forward to adding as many countries to that list as possible. So it's a very exciting time. It's all surreal but real at the same time. It's amazing. It's awesome.
And going back a little bit to your viralness as well, your new theme song, the Impact theme song that you have, is an absolute banger. Like, I find myself at work sometimes just kind of sitting there, and the theme song just sort of pops into my head for no reason at all. I guess it's just because I believe. But so, can we expect somewhere down the line that we might see some of your old videos, kind of, well, not your old videos, but new versions of that kind of thing creeping in for like pay-per-views and main events?
It's possible. It's possible. Right now, what we're doing is working.
Yeah.
I mean, every so often you got to pull something out of the bag. So it's been a thought, and when the time is right, hopefully we'll do it. Hopefully we'll do it. We've got Winter Warfare in Pembroke Pines, Florida. That's on December 9th and 10th, Winter Warfare. So make sure you get your tickets for there. It's at the Charles Dodge Center.
Nice.
So you can go on impactwrestling.com/events for more information. Then we've got Hard to Kill, which describes me perfectly, really. But that is on January 13th, 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia at the legendary center stage. So we've got the Hard to Kill on the 13th and the fallout from that on the 14th. That's going to be an amazing event as well. And also make sure you get Impact Insiders and Impact Plus. Go on the Impact YouTube. It's like £1 to watch the show on there.
I wasn't aware that it was that cheap, and I don't really like getting things on YouTube, but one of my pals is like, he's also like a massive Impact fan. He's like, dude, it's all on YouTube for like £1. Who's your dream matchup right now in Impact? Who do you really want to go up against right now?
The thing is, I'm the champ, so it's for other people to come up with their dream matches and opponents and title shots. But I will say this, I said that earlier about Scott and the three people he said he thought could be world champion. Two of them have, which is Josh Alexander and Moose. So I'd say those are the two people I'm going to focus on right now.
Nice plug for a cheeky triple threat there.
That would be something.
Well, Joe, this has been absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for coming on. And as he says, we've got Winter Warfare coming up and Hard to Kill coming up. Some really awesome, good matches there. And of course, just keep doing what you're doing, man. I was absolutely stoked to see that you were coming into Impact, and there was little things hitting the Twitter and everything. And it was like, people's just going to, like, I feel like my wrestling landscape changed the day I saw your video when you came out at Fear and Loathing. It was just like, oh man, this guy's singing and dancing. I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Much appreciated.
Nah, man, but I hope to see you as the champ, the heavyweight champ, soon enough. But digital media will do just now.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
How do I get out of this, Simon?
Cool. If you just stop the recording and then you can click leave, or I can kick you out.
Oh, don't kick me out.